There you go. Yes, welcome to the course unit, Teaching and Learning Online. This unit has two tutors. My name is Nayeli, for those who do not know me. I am originally from Mexico. I hope you've seen my introduction there in Canvas. I came to the UK about 11 years ago to do my MA program, MA studies. I did a degree in TLO, and then I carried on doing a PhD, which was focused on the areas of professional development, reflective practice. But I am interested in technology, in research reflexivity, and again in everything that has to do with the TESOL area. Well, that's me, and I'm going to hand over to Peter.
Yes, thank you, Nayeli. So I'm Peter Khan. I joined the university just a year ago as Professor of Digital Education. So I'm quite at home now after a year, so enjoying teaching on this course and taking blended learning in a digital age as well this semester. I did work at the university previously for 7 years, so it's been nice to see some old faces from when I worked for 7 years, from 2000 to 2007 in the university. So I'm still fairly at home from those times as well. So I look forward to working with you on the course unit.
We also have a TA. Yo-Yo, would you want to say something? What are you? I cannot see you. There you are.
Hello. And guys can see me. Hi everyone. My name is Yo Long, but I prefer everybody called me Yo-Yo, and I'm the TA for this course. I'm the very direct channel to go to communicate between our professors and our students. So my role is to answer all questions of you guys. If you have any questions, you can see I sent a photo in the chat box, and I have circled. My way of assist everyone is to if everyone can get on the Canvas instructor. I believe you already registered, and you can see in every module there's a chat, and you can if you have any question, you can just leave a comment there, and I'm always there to reply to you. And I guess most students are just carry most about the dissertations, and which is or maybe we should say the assignment. That's also you can find the right page and module 5, module 6, and that's where you can ask the related questions, and I'll be there to answer you. So that's my way of helping each other. I may not be here for every seminars, but just I'll be there. Okay. So
Excellent,
thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Just for you to know who she is as well. So she'll be monitoring the online discussions in Canvas and any other tool that we will be using. So yay! I should have put your picture there. Forgot to ask you about your picture, but we'll update those slides. So as I was saying, yes, the purpose of this session is to give you an overview of the course unit, how we will work, and has a purpose to prepare you for this adventure that you're going to take with us. So we will cover some topics about reflection, video, distance in education, and reflecting on experience of engaging in online learning. So as we prepare to start this journey, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about the course itself. So the structure, what we cover, our pedagogy. For that, before we get there, I'm going to open the audience tools. So if at any point you have questions, you could type them directly in the link that's going to be on your screen, or you can put them in your chat box, and I'll get back to them when I do a pause. So that's because some people, suddenly have a question, so you can write it down in there we will visit either these audience tools, or again, you could put it in the chat box and we'll have a pause to address those questions. So yes, the online, let's see, I lost my screen. There you go. We do have an approach, two approaches. Our pedagogical approaches are based on experiential learning and reflective practice. Course unit is around exploring different tools to engage in teaching and learning online, different modes of interaction, and inevitably we will be exploring with different tools, such as Canvas, for instance. As you're aware, we're not using Blackboard, but that's to give you a sense of other different learning management systems that are out there and how you can use them. So we're using the free version of Canvas, and yeah, we will be using Zoom. At some point, we will swap to Microsoft Teams to get a sense of a different video conferencing system. And that's the sense. So as we explore how to engage with different tools in online learning, the idea is that then you are experiencing them and reflecting on the use as a learner, but also if you are currently teaching, then thinking about whether you've used these tools in the past, and if not, what kind of ideas do you have if you were to use those tools in the future, or if you know of other tools that we don't use and you want to share with us information about them. It'll be this is the opportunity for us to engage in that communication discussion about what we know. And this is where we get to learn from you as well. So in terms of the structure of the course, excuse me, so we have, it's kind of split into parts. The first 6 weeks of the course are more theoretical. We do go through theory, but at the same time as we're reading, engaging with book chapters, articles, we are experiencing teaching and learning online. So the idea is that as you read and are informed by the literature, you start implementing those attitudes, behaviors that are effective for this type of communication. So the idea is that we know that most of us have that experience of engaging in online learning because of the pandemic. But as we are becoming more aware of the theory underpinning the principles, the ways of interacting in teaching and learning online, the idea is that you start becoming aware of things that you did in the past that probably didn't work, and that you want to change to engage more effectively in this course unit. So that is theory, reflective practice as well. And then the second bit is we have, again, another 6 sessions on putting into practice a theory by asking you to think about a potential course unit that you might want to develop and how it would look like. So the outline of the course unit. And that's how we are dividing the workload. There are 2 weeks for us to talk about the assignment and address any questions. These are weeks for assignment support. So we have 2 assignments. Part 1 is a critical review. So you are writing this collaboratively. This is a collaborative assignment where you choose one of the topics that we explore within the first 6 weeks, or we can negotiate a topic that you might be really, really interested that is connected to teaching and learning online. And as you are finding people with similar interests, then you come together and write that critical review, what other people would call a literature review on that topic that is your interest. And then we have a second assignment, which is an individual reflection. So throughout the module, we have different reflective activities that we will also always ask you to reflect on your experiences. So if you do those activities, but also if you keep a reflective journal, let's say you start today writing about, what you learned today, what happened today, how did you engage with the course today, How have you engaged in the past? You start that journey of reflecting on this experience of being online learning in the course. And if you have all those reflective entries, that reflective piece becomes is like easily written, because you have all the evidence. You can go back to what you wrote in week 1, what you wrote in week 2, how you're learning about teaching and learning online developed. And then it's easier to revisit those entries. We ask you to quote yourself, so that's why it's important to keep a journal, which you can have physically or a digital journal as well. So the idea is that you reflect on your experience of teaching, of engaging in the course as an online learner, or your experience engaging in the course as experience in developing a course unit, which is the second part of the materials. So there are options in which what kind of aspect you want to choose to reflect on, or you might reflect on your experiences of working collaboratively. In this unit, we do have a lot of group work. A big part of online learning is making sure that you are committed to engage with other people, to work with other people, open to be challenged by people, to work collaboratively. So that is a big part, and that's why we have this collaborative assignment first, and then your individual reflections. As the synchronous and asynchronous tools that we were going to be using, I mentioned before, Zoom and Microsoft Teams. We will, I'll show you in a minute the timetable, so you have an idea of when these tools will be used. So that experiential approach of experiencing with engaging with different technologies. And I'm missing some, oh yes. So as I was saying, we have lots of interactions, tutor-student interaction, student-student interaction, and student-tutors interaction as well. So for the first 5 weeks of the course, we will form study groups. These study groups will form them based on your time zone. For that, we will do an activity. Peter will lead that activity later on. So we ask you some questions. We know then more or less where you are in the world, and we will bring together some people. The idea then is that you contact your peers that are in your study group, and you work with them for the first 5 weeks. Then around week probably 4 or 5, we will be asking you to start thinking about a topic that you're interested in, because then from week 6 to week 10, you will start working with assignment groups, which you will be forming by yourself. So that is an overview of the whole course unit. I'm just seeing that it says 2023, but it should say 2024. I'll change that. So before I move on, I'm gonna visit the audience tools, or if we have any questions so far in the chat, or if anyone wants to unmute themselves, just to see. Are we all good? I can see a few faces. Okay, some nods there. Excellent. There you go. I'll carry on then. So before the session, we did ask you to, engage with a few tasks. So the main idea is that if you have not yet gone through the module called Absolute Beginnings, you take this week, to go through the pages. As I said, we will go through some of the aspects of these pages, but not everything. So because again, we're assuming that you are engaging with the course materials, actively engaging with them. If I go to my canvas, can you see my canvas? Just a question. Excellent, good, thank you. See, that's why it's so important to be able to see your faces, because then then I don't know what's happening. Okay, so I'm looking up on my second screen. We have the global menu on the left. We have your account, there's the dashboard. So in the dashboard, if you already work with Canvas, I'm going to leave the student view and go into my tutor view. If you already work with Canvas, you will see all the courses that you're enrolled. And that's your dashboard. Excuse me. In your account, this is where you can edit your profile. So please do so, put a recent picture. It's always nice to see who is part of the course, but also this is part of you engaging actively in, building up your online social presence as well. So if I open my course then, the main tools that you'll see from your screen, I'll go back to my student view, see what you see. You have, after the global menu, you have different tabs. You have home, you have announcements. So if you click on announcements, you'll be able to see then that we have a couple of announcements that I've sent for this week, I think, and previously, I think the weeks before. The main tab that you really want to be really familiar with is modules tab, because this is where all the content materials, readings, videos of the unit are. Usually, you could just go directly there and jump to the module or the specific materials that you want to explore. Everything is, they're all organized as a sequence. So there's no way, of you getting lost, but it could happen as well. That's the main module there, tab that you want to be really familiar with. Then we also have the tab of assignments, which, that brief introduction I gave you about the two types of assignments that we have. You could explore in more detail there, and if you come up with any questions, you can contact us. And then you can also see the people in the course. You'll see our names, our pictures, and this is from where, this is the tab you want to explore. If we ask you to work collaboratively with, 3 of your peers, you know where to find them. That's in the people's tab. We also have the discussion tab. There you go. Again, they're organized in a sequence. So we have that initial introduction discussion that we ask you to do, and then we will work our way through the whole discussion panel. But again, these discussions are also embedded in each one of the modules. So if I click on the front page, excuse me, you'll see our introduction. You'll have a link there to a timetable. I think, there you go. Then you have the emails there. If you want to contact us, you can also contact us from Canvas. You see that you have an inbox there. And I remember sending a few messages this week to some people. So some of you responded to me. I gave an individual welcome to each one of you. So we also have that embedded, inbox for you to send us an email directly in Canvas. We have a page for you to get familiar with Canvas. We know, I wish we have extra hours to, talk you through the whole new learning system. But the good thing about Canvas is it's very, very intuitive. So if you like technology, you like to play with technology, is just poking, clicking here and there, you easily find it. And I know a lot of you are, really digital people that were born probably, I don't know, 18 years ago, 20 years ago. You are very familiar with technology. So these are the pages that you do need to go through very, very in detail. So yes, as I was saying at the very, very early stage of this session, we have on-site students, we have distance learners, On-site students, for them, the online seminars are mandatory. Distance learners, there's no expectation for you to attend, but you are welcome to join us if this is within your possibilities. And yes, the idea is that you also get to collaborate with people that you probably have never worked with. So that is very, very important. This is the link I was looking for. So there's a link, the Manchester Library, that's for the reading list. And then you have an explanation of, how the Canvas materials are organized. So you'll see there's a lot of text, a lot of links. And I'm saying this from the very, very, first time, but you'll probably hear me saying this a lot. You don't have to read everything in detail, because I know that some people might get really overwhelmed. Oh, there's a lot of reading. The first thing to do is to identify what you're interested in that specific topic, or the topics that we are going to look at on weekly basis, and be selective. Yeah, select the things that you're interested in, and you can go and explore in depth. But we're not asking you to read everything in detail and memorize all the information, because that would be impossible. So do be selective and and be kind. So the idea is that all of these materials are introductory, and that you will explore them independently in your own time, but we also will discuss them during the online sessions. We have key readings, we have shared readings. Those readings that are signposted as shared readings are for you to prepare in advance before attending the online seminar, because we will discuss them. There are other readings that you do more independently during your own time as part of your own exploration of the unit, and they're useful because in a way they will help you take an informed decision about what kind of topic you might be interested to work with other people. And then we have further reading, which you can again do at the time of when you start working with your assignments. I think that's it from me. I don't know if I missed anything. Peter, what do you think?
No, I think that's great. That's great, Nahieli. It's important. It is important to focus on the areas you find most interest, but also to keep notes as you go forward, because when you're coming to write the assignments, it'd be much easier if you have written down reflections in a journal as you go through. You'll have things on which to draw. So do keep records, do keep notes, do build up ideas and make a note of it. When you read a reference, keep a note of what you thought was interesting, and then you might use it later on.
That's very important. Reference, always use a reference. But sometimes we write something, it's like, oh, where did I read this? Or insert the link of the article you were reading. I don't know. It's a way of organizing, finding a way of organizing yourself. I like that. As I said, so there's the aspect of reflection and group work, which is central to the unit. We will go through some of the aspects of helping you establishing your online social presence, but these are videos for you to explore again. There's a video there that some of my students a few years back created, just to give themselves tips about how to engage when working with other students. So they were talking about reflecting. They were reflecting on how to facilitate a conversation, especially when it's the first time you're working with people you don't know. And they give tips there. So I think it's interesting to see what other students who have been in your place have to say about their own experiences. There's a bit of advice about how to engage with, let's see if it's here, group work. It's just a bit of advice and guidance. We do trust that we are working with adults, and that you will find the ways of, communicating, engaging in active group work. So do explore these materials, visit the link as well. One of the things I always say is, once you are part of a group, try to keep in contact with them, be active. It's very, very important. I'm going to go back to my slides. I've gone through this bit. Yeah. We do have a timetable, which is the one I missed. Let me go through the next page on Canvas. And yes, this page of topics and timetable is really, really important. And the reason is because we do have different Zoom links, and when we're leading, so we're two tutors. So in that sense, we use different links. So always remember what week you are in, what date is the class, and the link to the online seminars. As I said before, we have different asynchronous tools, and you have a guide here of where to find those online discussions. So the first 4 weeks we use Canvas, and then we will move on to using VoiceThread, hopefully, because last time I tried it, it was a bit weird, but hopefully it's getting better. Again, these are tools that are very intuitive. But it does take a bit of, sometimes just about exploring, dedicated an hour to see how things work. So we will move on to online discussions that are in VoiceThread. And then we will also explore Microsoft Teams and Padlet as an asynchronous bit. But you will see then that it's very clear that, what the module is, the topic and description of the session, who's leading the session, there's Zoom link and the dates of the sessions. For those distance learners, I'm going to run a drop-in session tomorrow at 6:30. So that's why this, information page is really, really important, because if you miss these bits that are relevant to you, then, you don't take the full advantage of the offer. I'll pause there to address any questions you may have at this point. Let me go back and see your faces. There you go. Are we all good? Any questions? No questions in the chat box? Oh, yes. Oh, no. What's that, Yo-Yo? That's the link to Canvas structure. Good. Thank you, Yo-Yo. Okay. So, I'll carry on, but I'll always keep an eye on any of the questions you may ask and get back to you as soon as I see them. So the idea then is that we trust that for this first idea is that you prepare, you're really preparing to work in the course by knowing where things.
You're cutting out, Nahieli. Don't know if you can hear me. Let's see what Nahieli does. Oh, she's dropped off. Okay. Let me continue then. Let me continue. Why not? If I can just get myself organized. She may come back in a second anyway. But I can take a little bit forward, move things forward as well. Myself, she will be back, I'm sure, in a second. I don't know. Okay. I just need to get myself organized. Okay. Okay, I'm still fiddling with the controls on Zoom. Let me just close that again. Start again. Okay. Let's see. Let's see how she comes back in. So module 1, getting started, week 1. It is important to work with Canvas, but I mean, Nahiyeli has gone through this already. So I would keep working through, what's there on Canvas. You can access it in a range of ways, and there are different symbols there, different images to help you go through. But just keeping around the material and working through it is an important thing to do. In terms of just spending time is probably the main thing when you're studying here. It does take some time just to get into it. So you do have to find ways just to make sure you allocate time for it, perhaps schedule time so that you've given yourself a particular period of time and you work through the material. And then it's that makes a big difference. And just spending time on Canvas.
I'm back here.
Okay, back now.
You know what? I didn't panic. It's the first time I don't panic because this has happened so many times.
So I've just gone a little bit further with the slides. That's
yes.
great. And just talking through this one.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
But spending time with familiarity with the tools is quite important. So I think it's good to be reflective about the way you use tools. So for instance, just in terms of my interaction here, when you screen share on Zoom, I came to a point where I couldn't immediately get back to the full screen on my screen share, so I could also see what was going on. So Zoom has its little quirks, doesn't it? So getting used to the quirks of the software is just important. So I need to go away and have a little look at how, when I'm using a screen share, I can still feel that I'm in the classroom rather than have to rely on working in the app that I'm sharing. So those kinds of things, it's just a point of reflection that you spend time being familiar with the tools. That's one important thing to do.
Yes. I do apologize that my internet is a bit wobbly today. I would say. But yes, basically do spend time preparing. As we were saying as well, there are different tools. So when you get that notice of, oh, we're gonna move on to, Microsoft Teams, then you kind of, if you're not familiar, you do take the time, to explore where things are, so that then you're making as well your own interaction more comfortable because you know how to share your screen, where the video, and also very, very important because these are online seminars. From week 2, there's a lot of engagement from your part. This week is more an informative week, but also we will have a point of interaction in the second part, which is in about 10-15 minutes. So then the idea is that, as you get familiar with the tools, then, you are making and facilitating your own engagement as much as possible. So yeah, maybe we can go to the next couple of slides. Yeah, that's the same. Yeah.
Was that okay?
So engagement, that's a word that you probably hear a lot from us. Engagement. And engagement requires is active. It requires that you are doing something. So part of the idea of starting building up your social presence is that those activities that we ask you to do for this week, do update your profile picture, your short biography, start creating. If you have any links, materials that you want to share with us, because this is important, you're building your identity as a member of the teaching and learning community, teaching and learning online community this year. Let's click next. So yes, so the idea is then that as you go through the materials, you start engaging with discussions. Again, the idea of engagement is not just, okay, I've done my post and bye, I've done my bit. It's also as well that you get to read what other people wrote, because you might find people with similar interests, with similar points of view, and then that's when you start connecting. So the idea of engagement is really connected to building up the community. And again, that's very important when we start this experience of learning online with other people, that you help each other to be part of the community, and to be part of the community, being active and willing to talk to people as well and interact and learn from others is very, very important. In the next slide, we have a bit of theory about, online discussions. So Fatani talk about, the idea of online discussions are kind of another way of going very deep in understanding the content of the materials that we explore, because it's very different to have a discussion, oral discussion, than spending time thinking about what you have read, writing about it. It's a different metacognitive process. So you write, you put your thoughts there, you probably will be writing, more critical there than when you are asked to engage in, a brief interaction, which is oral. It does have different processes. So online discussions there then are better to enable that developing understanding of the content. They help you to develop your critical thinking, develop your arguments. This is another place to show your contributions. So, and I would say it's one of the most important places to show those contributions as you engage with the materials. That's another opportunity to interact with the tutors, with your peers, the rest of the community, and talk about, how you see things. Usually these discussion boards in the past have been really, really long, and it just took me ages to read through, the posts. So this time I'm asking you, even if you're brief, make sure that you're writing the points that you're trying to convey, the main key messages that you want to say. Try to write them, and in a shorter paragraph. So if you find yourself writing an essay, you might want to, be more concise about the key messages. But I do, see as well, and from my experiences, that those that are online discussion as a group is very interesting, because students write individually what they think, and they just write a big post of individual comments. And I'm thinking, they're missing the key critical point of, okay, after their own individual opinions, let's write a group conclusion. So then that's when I start going back to you. Can you synthesize and write a group conclusion rather than, very, very long post? And that's another way of interacting and helping us to be, in a way, academic. It's another process that does, contribute to your academic development as well. Next one then. Yeah, the next slide basically just shows you where to click, that's another thing. In online discussions in Canvas, you can add pictures, you can add a video, you can add links. So make use of those multimodal, options there as well. If you want to share materials, that we're keen on in you sharing materials about, things that are probably relevant in your context and relevant to this unit, it'll be interesting as well to learn from that. So as I mentioned before, you should go to the discussion tabs, look at the discussions that we're working on, and participate in them as well. And yes, so when we set up the study groups today, after the activity we're going to do, make sure you contact your peers in Canvas. You know where to find them now. There's the People tab as well. And I'm sure you'll find your ways of contacting each other, because again, you're very quick at these social media. Right. And I think the last bit from me before, yes, do go through the brief working with other people. That brief does go through various key points, just as make sure everybody's understanding the task at hand, so that the group has clear aims of what it is that you guys are doing, working as a group, that you do talk about the responsibilities and the roles you will be playing in the group. Some of these things might be, might be seen as, oh yeah, that's what everybody does, but really a reminder is really, really useful. Establish deadlines. So if you're working for the first time collaborating for an assignment, make sure that you organize that group work, and that you have not only as a main point that the submission deadline, but also you create different deadlines to work on different parts of that assignment, for instance, and that you know what everybody's doing, and that you get to the point where together you're drafting and redrafting the assignment, and not just only, here is my part, there's your part, put it together, and we read, suddenly an assignment that probably doesn't really follow an argument. So another way of thinking about that collaborative assignment is, imagine you're writing collaborative article that you're going to publish and send for a journal. So when you think about that in more professional terms, you're thinking, oh, okay, so we need to really discuss this, have different meetings, regular meetings, monitor the progress of the work, and make sure that this piece is one message and not different messages with different arguments that probably are not following each other. So that's why we have that brief guide and different links for you to, look at how to engage working with other people. Then the last bit is the next slide, please. It talks more about engaging with video conferencing systems, like Zoom, like Google Classroom, and other tools like DingTalk. Is it DingTalk? In the one tool that a lot of Chinese people were using in the pandemic, I remember. So make sure you know where things are. Make sure that your settings are, that you have a microphone, for instance, that you have a camera, that you know where the chat box is, that you know how to share a screen, because if you decide to work collaboratively with others and you decide to use Zoom, then you need to learn where different features are. One of the things I want to emphasize about Zoom is that we do take attendance in the class, so in the online seminars. So it is highly advised that you log into these seminars using your Zoom account. So if you don't have a Zoom account, it is important that you open one using your university email. If you use your university email, you're attending the class, we'll see after the session is finished, we get a report in our Zoom account about who was in the class, how long they stayed, and it's easier to see the names of the people that attended. But if you log in with your Gmail account that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we really don't know who was in the class. So it's important that you use your Zoom account. If you don't have one, open one. Very, very important. And that you also treat Zoom as any other, face-to-face interaction. So if we go to the next slide, Peter, please. Yes. So we know that, in that idea of, how does communication work is the same. There's people encoding a message, there's people decoding the message. We're using digital tools to facilitate the process. So if you treat the sessions as if you were face-to-face, it will be so much better as well for us, and for yourselves. And, and again, we go back to the idea of really feeling that you are part of a classroom. So our expectation, if we go to the next slide, is the series. Because we know that communication is 70% body language. So again, sometimes I go and look for your faces. Are people following? Are they scratching their head? Are they thinking? They probably are, frowning their faces, thinking, I don't follow. And that gives me a sense of how people are reacting to the information. And the same when you work collaboratively with groups and we send you to a breakout room, very, very important that, again, we start changing our behaviors if we haven't properly, effectively engaged with these tools. And I think that one is the same. So we go to the next one. And we're saying this not because, it's something that came up to our minds today. There is actually literature that talks about the use of video in distance learning as well. We go back to the idea of helping you to be part of a community, building up your online social presence. And yes, whenever possible, there are a lot of options in which you can engage. If, using your camera here, you can have a virtual background. You could blur your space if you want to make your space more private. You can also, there's actually an option of using the avatars there. So if you want to let us know that you're there, great, why not using an avatar as well? Yes, next one, please. And we have some phrases here. We have Correa et al. That they do talk about, how through the use of, a video conferencing tools, using your camera and all, how they enhance the quality of the educational experience. It does make a difference, having that idea that, treating the online classroom as if you were in face-to-face, usual, normal, typical communication as well. We've talked about the of classroom community and establishing, relationships with others, with each other in this course. Next, yes. So part of the literature as well, Castelli and Sarr, they talk about students who use video in the class. They got a better sense of how other students were reacting. This is something I mentioned before. And they could tell if they were following what, the message was. Even in face-to-face communication, there could be sometimes miscommunications. So again, treat that experience online learning as if it was a face-to-face communication. Video helps to reduce the feeling of reduced educational experience. So if you feel isolated, that you're just by yourself and there's not really much happening, and you suddenly are feeling, oh, well, a way of engaging and being part of a community is by actively, using the settings provided in video conferencing. Students also had positive experiences, and they build strong relationships as well. And as well, from the tutor side, that's from the perspective of students, but the tutors also perceive themselves to be more effective when, we go to see the audience and not just black screens, for instance. If you have taught online, really, you probably feel like if you're talking to the void, you're talking to yourself, and nobody, it's a way of showing that you are engaging with the content and listening to what we're here to share. Some of the reasons what students may not use their cameras. Privacy, safety, personal equity. I think the key message of this article was, we can encourage the use of video cameras, but, we also are aware that sometimes it's not possible. But if you let us know, that is, part of the communication. If you let us know, oh, I can't use the camera now. Okay, well, we know that somebody is there then. So it's how you approach, that interaction with the tutors, because we are here for you, and if we don't know you're there, it's a bit, it's a bit strange. Yeah, it's just for if this is the first time using Zoom, that's the settings that you can use to unmute yourself, put the video, make sure that your microphone and camera are working. That's all from me. And before we take a tiny break, maybe 5 minutes, does anyone have a question? Are we all good?
To us. If we look, and we don't actually show ourselves in some way or other, then the social interaction is much more limited. I mean, you can read someone else's posting, or you can see what someone else's expression is on their face. But if you're not posting, or you're not giving expression on your face, then it's harder to have any interaction, really. So the effectiveness of online learning does depend in part on online socialization happening. Being active, getting used to engaging, inhabiting the space, living in it in some way or other, finding a way you feel comfortable with. But you have to find a way that you feel comfortable in order then to live in the space somehow. And I think it's just getting comfortable with it, learning to be comfortable with it. I mean, Gilly Salmon here is someone I know somewhat. I worked with her when I was at Liverpool University, because I spent 10 years working on online programs for Liverpool University, just in living in that online world. And Gilly was really engaged. She was an engaged colleague. She was active, she was dynamic, she was doing things, she was making things happen. And that was partly her style. And she brought that to her work with e-moderation and to inhabiting the online world. I don't know Moreno Minguez and Soares Hernan, but then their work is in Spanish, I think, Nayeli, isn't it? Just looking at the reference earlier.
Yes.
So try and find ways to inhabit this online world. You have to find a way to, to become comfortable in it. That's perhaps what I would highlight from this one. Okay. So in order for you to learn, Gilly Salmon would say you have to be there. You have to make a difference. So thinking about reflexivity, for instance, reflection, why might it make a difference to be able to reflect and be critical if you've learned to be active, if you've learned to be at home in an online space? I mean, you can put something into the chat if you want to. Why do you think it might make a difference if you're inhabiting an online world to be able to be reflective or to be critical? If you have got any ideas, you could put it into the chat. Why might it make a difference? That's what Garrison says. So Garrison, who's one of the main theorists, one of the main researchers in online learning, and in encouraging the importance of social presence, of being present socially, he says it makes a difference. He says you can learn in this way, but is that true? Does that make sense to you? Put something in the chat if you want to. Why might make a difference? But even just making you pause and think is my way of encouraging you not just to accept things that are given to you by your tutors, but to try and own it for yourself. Just as you need to own an online space, you need to own the ideas that we're working with and follow up things. So, I mean, I think, for instance, that if you've got people who are very different to each other, they can provoke each other. So if someone else says something that you weren't expecting in a discussion board or in the chat now, or they make an expression on their face that's surprised at something, it might make you pause and think, what's going on here? And why did that person react in that way? Why did they say that? I didn't expect them to say that kind of thing. it's provocative, isn't it? Or you notice someone else is similar to you, that they're saying something similar. And you can realize that, yes, I've got someone else is learning like I am in a similar situation. And it can create sort of bonds of affection even, where you think, oh yeah, I'd like to read that person's writing. And all these things help you reflect. And then you might make notes in order to then come back to it later on, perhaps in an assignment. So these things, they're all ways of getting you to engage and to learn. So online socialization quite directly can lead to criticality, to seeing things differently, or to reflecting, which is also a way of seeing things differently. And that is partly becoming an independent learner, isn't it, from what Ginny Summer would say. If you want to become a higher level learner where you're making sense of things for yourself and you're taking things forward, you're being a leader, then all this kind of active sharing enables you to do it. Okay. And obviously that's part of a community, that's part of what we're trying to do. If we can create an online community in this way, then we have an active space. So Nahieli, you've linked back to sociocultural theory. That's right. Vygotsky talks about the importance of sharing things socially before you learn to do it on your own.
Yes. And I do say I did link it back because I know that some of the students here have taken either theories of teaching and learning or psychology of language learning, and that's another way of connecting back to other units that you have already explored.
Yeah, there are plenty of connections to other units in that kind of territory. Okay, so I mean the community dimension is quite important. This has come from one of your projects, Nahieli, the Siri project. The Siri project is live this current year, is it?
It was used only for the time of the pandemic.
Okay.
Because this is a time where students were writing down their dissertations and they were completely, we were all online, and that kind of, it took away from that experience of them getting together and share their research ideas. So we created this online space for them to come and talk about what kind of project you're interested in. And the students themselves created this honeycomb where after, some months of experience engaging online, they came up with the things that they thought are important in order to build an online learning community. So this is completely their work. And, I thought, let's share it with this course because, again, it's another way of seeing what other people have learned in the past, students in this university, what they have created, that it summarizes a lot of the key elements that we have touched upon.
I mean, there's lots of wonderful things in here. You need to be active, engaged, to join in, participate, to work with other people, to be present. It makes a difference, doesn't it? And you can do that online, just as you can do it face to face, but it requires new habits. It requires new ways of becoming comfortable in spaces, new ways of exploring things, taking time. That was one thing I thought was important when I was working, in an online setting the whole of my time, was you have to spend time on technology. Because technology doesn't happen perfectly just because you want it to. It happens because you just have to troubleshoot. You have to get used to doing these things. So Nahieli was thrown out of her classroom, her online classroom. Can you imagine someone coming into a face-to-face classroom and saying, you have to leave for 2 minutes now? You just have to get used to these things, don't you? Because connections drop. But you have to just deal with it. It's just part of just learning new habits, learning new comfort zones, learning new things, just to get used to accept things look a little differently online. So spending time with the technology is an important part of it, and bearing with it. Okay, so that's that slide. I mean, I think it is important to fill in your profile. Nahieli has already emphasized this before. So go into the profile in Canvas and add a little biography about yourself. Post an introduction in the introductory discussion board on Canvas. So it will help people see each other. And we are a modest size group, aren't we? 22 students and 3 members of staff is a modest size group. So there is an opportunity just to have a look and see who else is on the course. And using video again, yeah. And getting used to the tools is an important part of that. I think we've gone through those things, haven't we, in large part. Okay, that's the break. So what we want to also do is get a few tasks going and some group work and tasks going now. So we've finished the main input from us as tutors. But we wanted you to also spend a little bit of time to do a few things. So the first of these is an individual task. So let me stop sharing that one. But I can share another one. End that one. Okay. So you can now see my screen on Canvas. So if you go onto Canvas, if you have Canvas open, then it'll be ideal to do this now. If you haven't got a device that's easy to get onto, or you haven't managed to come through yet, then you have to do this later on. But I'm on Getting Started 1, Week 1. So if you look on Modules, Module 1, Getting Started 1, Week 1. That's Modules, Getting Started 1, Week 1. So if you go on here, then there's some things to read through. But also at the bottom, there's a form to click on. Please fill in the form below. Okay, if you click on the form, it's just a Microsoft form. So if you can fill it in now, that'd be great. It's 5 easy questions, and then that will help us set up the study groups. I'll just give you a minute. And otherwise, you can do this afterwards, but it'd be great if you can do it now. If that's simple, if you're in Canvas, just navigate to Getting Started on Week 1, Module 1, and then you can complete that. Okay. Great. So that's that one. We've got a group exercise for you now. So some group work. So I'm going to post the task for you in the chat, so you can see what the chat is. So this is about video. So it's a group work exercise about video. And you've got the instructions in the chat there. So the idea is just we'll put you into some breakout rooms, 15 minutes, and the idea is for you to introduce yourselves, and then to tell each other about your experiences of using different online tools, and about how you see these tools. You know, are there things you find easy, things you find hard, and what have you done to overcome the challenges? Because you have to get used to working with tools and to overcoming the challenges, and sharing these ideas with each other is an important part of realizing that other people struggle and they need to work and spend time and find ways forward to troubleshoot their tools. So I put it in the chat now, Yeli, so it's there, but that's great. And then agree on a couple of points you can post back into the online discussion on 1.3 in Canvas. So if I just show you where 1.3 is, if you look on modules 1.3, you can click on there, then you can write a reply in that space there. Okay, is there anything else, Nahieli, you want to do to set things up?
No, I'm opening now the groups. I just couldn't see what you pasted on the
Well, I haven't returned it. Sorry, I haven't pressed return.
yes.
So I've entered it into my chat box and haven't pressed return.
There you go. Because I just didn't see. But there you go. Yes. So in case you forget whenever we send you to the group, that's the instruction there. Okay. The breakout rooms, you will be automatically drawn to another group. And we'll probably visit your groups as well. So when we're ready, set. Oh, you said 15 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So groups will be opening now.
An email while things are going on, because it's easy to multitask. But if you can find ways to stay focused, you will get more out of the work.
There is a technique that a student shared, put in the 20-minute Pomodoro YouTube videos, just to do a task just for those 20 minutes and not getting distracted. I thought that was particularly nice.
Okay, so we've got another exercise now for you, which is another slightly shorter group work exercise. So perhaps rather than share the screen, I'll just put this into the chat. So let me put this into the chat, and I'll press return this time, so it comes through. Exercise just to help get used to knowing each other. Introducing ourselves. I'm not sure which group's going to put us into Nahieli, but then what are we hoping to get from the course unit, and what are we concerned about, and what do we think we have to invest ourselves in? And then we want one person to feed back to everybody as to some things from the group work.
Once again, the instructions are out there, and is it how long? 10 minutes maybe?
Yeah, 10 minutes is fine. We have to be focused on the discussion because we've got 20 minutes in total left.
Yeah, there you go. Back to your rooms.
Just to